Greetings and welcome back to Wolf Kage Los Angeles. We've got some breaking news shaking up at Capitol Hill tonight. The Trump agenda just hit a serious roadblock. A key bill meant to advance conservative economic policies was shut down in committee. But here's the twist. It wasn't the Democrats who sank it. It was a small group of so-called Republicans, the kind of folks we call rhinos, Republicans in name only. Now, why does this matter? Because what's on the table is not just another spending bill. It's the groundwork for what could become the largest tax hike in American history. We're talking trillions over the next decade. Can the GOP course correct? Will they put America first or continue this slow motion betrayal of their base?
Well, first off, what timing is this, right? I'm just still processing everything just happened after watching the whole hearing. I don't think that's the way this story ends. I think that this proceeds after there are some negotiations and some changes to accommodate the fiscal hawks who voted against it. I think it goes out of the House. I think then you have another massive showdown with the Senate, which is unwilling to even do some of the reforms that the House has included. Ultimately, and I've been saying this for a while, I think it could pass as a massive budget buster as it is currently, or it could end up being just temporary extensions and limping along to continue to figure it out. But those fiscal hawks are not comfortable with the borrowing that is in the bill, and I sympathize with them. It's huge.
Well, let's talk about busting the budget here, Maya, because as always, the committee has done quite a bit of work looking at least what we believe, what we have now in terms of legislation and what it might mean for the deficit and debt moving forward. The developing House reconciliation bill, as you write, is shaping up to add roughly $3.3 trillion to the debt through fiscal year 34, setting the stage for more than $5.2 trillion of additional debt if policymakers ultimately extend temporary provisions. And that might be right where we are, Maya, because Speaker Johnson needs to sweeten the pot for SALT Republicans, and he needs to cut even more to make the Freedom Caucus happy. So are these numbers going to be even worse?
Yeah, there's a couple of points. One, a big part of this bill is just temporary tax cuts. Remember, we're in this situation right now because there are a bunch of temporary tax cuts expiring. And you've got the Senate saying, oh, we shouldn't have to pay for them because we always meant for them to be permanent. They made them temporary, so the bill would be smaller when they first passed them in 2017. And now they're saying they shouldn't have to pay for them. And yet, in the very same breath, they're also, so far in the House and the Senate, I assume will do the same thing, putting in new tax cuts on a temporary basis. So it's really arguing, baselines, people are sick of baselines, I'm sure, but multiple baselines at one time. Don't charge us for extending things. Don't charge us for the full cost if they're temporary. So there is a very strong chance that these tax cuts, if they're put in place, will be extended because it always plays out that way. So the price tag will be much larger there. And then two, to your point, they're not done negotiating. The SALT folks don't think that a $30,000 cap is enough. They want to up it. This is a very expensive bill, and the fiscal hawks would not be comfortable doing that in a way where it's just deficit finance. They'd want more offsets.
We talked to Nicole Malliotakis about that around this time yesterday. The Republican from New York has this incredible scenario in which she has to straddle her sitting on the Ways and Means Committee with her membership in the SALT caucus. And they got to $30,000, raised the cap to 30, up from 10. Here's what she told us yesterday about what that means for her district.
SALT right now is roughly, it's about $215 billion. We want to stay within that piece. Now, that may mean we need to adjust the dials. A tripling of the deduction to $30,000 covers 98% of my district. Now, would I have liked a higher number? Sure. But it's not what you want, it's what you need.
But here's the problem, Maya. She wasn't even allowed in a meeting with SALT Republicans the other day because of her role on the Ways and Means Committee. This is how chippy it's gotten on Capitol Hill. Does the issue of SALT as a singular issue here threaten this bill the most?
It's interesting. I saw that interview and I thought, I wonder how people will respond to that, because the SALT group is diehard on this issue. Is it the biggest threat? I don't think it's the biggest threat. I think the biggest threat is the fiscal conservatives. I think it's the debt levels. I think it is the more that bill hangs out there and people understand that you are talking about adding 3 to 5 trillion from this version. And like I said, I think it gets worse, not better. I think the real threat is that there are just enough Republicans who've been talking about the need for fiscal responsibility and spending cuts. They cannot stomach, no matter what the talking points are, they cannot stomach a bill that would add to deficits and debt. That's where I see it could break down. The SALT folks should be very happy with 30. They're still negotiating. They'll negotiate to the last minute. It's incredibly expensive. And
hear that from Maya McGinnis? They're listening to us right now, Maya. You're going to get the emails just like I am.
Yeah, I sure am. And I know this is the only group that's scarier is the seniors when you say something about not adding new benefits. But, there's a strong and interesting case, and people don't appreciate this, but why would states that are low tax states be subsidizing high tax states when those high tax states are getting something in return? They are getting benefits. They are getting programs. These are the decisions the states make. So it's difficult to say, well, you have fewer benefits, so you should subsidize ours, which is really what it is.
So let me tell you a little story about what's going on in D.C. right now and why it matters. Some leaders are pushing to bring back a major cut plan. On paper, it sounds great. Lower taxes for individuals and businesses, more money in your pocket, more freedom to grow, more freedom to invest. But of course, there's a little twist. A group of lawmakers, the so-called budget watchdogs, are slamming the brakes. The reason? They claim that the plan would add over $3 trillion to the national debt. $3 trillion. And now suddenly Washington is pretending to care about spending. Funny, isn't it? Where was this fiscal discipline during the trillions we've already blown? So there's another fight boiling, and it's about something called SALT deduction. That's short for state and local tax. It's the rule that helps people in high tax states like California and New York write off more of their federal returns. Some lawmakers want to raise the cap, a move that would mostly benefit wealthier residents in those states. Others say that it's unfair to Americans in lower tax states who wouldn't get the same break. So here we are, in an internal civil war. Same party, different priorities, and it's getting ugly. One Republican lawmaker says she was locked out of a key meeting because the infighting had gotten so intense. Makes you wonder, who's really calling the shots? Even if the House somehow patches things up and passes the tax bill, there's still a mountain to climb in the Senate. Why? Because Senate leaders are signaling a hard no on anything that adds to the national debt. But don't be fooled. Deals are already being whispered in back rooms. Some are talking about fast-tracking the cost-saving parts of the bill. Others, they're pushing to rewrite the SALT deduction just enough to flip a few key votes. This is what I like to call the D.C. shuffle, where everything is negotiable except the truth. This whole saga reveals a bigger problem. Washington does not like bold moves. And Trump is all about making bold moves. Real reform scares them. It shakes up the status quo, threatens cozy deals, and exposes how broken the system really is. And let's be real, this has nothing to do with helping everyday Americans. No. If it did, we wouldn't be arguing over SALT deductions and procedural meetings. We'd be fixing inflation. We'd be slashing waste. We'd be putting money back in your hands. But change requires risk. Change requires courage. Two things in short supply on Capitol Hill. So for now, the tax cut is put on ice. But don't be surprised when it comes back, rebranded, repackaged, and full of new political trades. This story is far from over, and as always, we'll be watching every twist and turn. I'm Wolf Kage, and this was Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and until the next time, peace.